grab it or? Okay, awesome. Hello, everyone. I'm dcbuilder. I'm a research engineer at the World Foundation. We're one of the sponsors of the event. Maybe you've seen our booth earlier. So here, I'm, pun intended, I'm giving an update on our project, right? So an update on the state of the world, or world. To set the stage, we've been doing a lot of things around the Ethereum ecosystem for a long time. And I feel like sometimes when I talk to a lot of people around the Ethereum ecosystem, maybe they've heard of World, or formerly known as WorldCoin. They've heard of it, they've heard of the app, they've heard of World ID, they've heard of this or the other, but maybe they don't have like a full cohesive picture of the project. So I wanted to sort of do a refresh, if you've not heard of us for a while, or if you don't know what we're up to, just to give you the context and information of all the things that we've been doing so far. So I wanted to start with what is World, right? Like what is the big picture of what World is doing? So we have 4 main products. We have World App, World ID, World Chain, and World Coin. So World App is the center and hub for everyone to get access to World. It's an application for Android and iOS that anyone can download, and you can use it as a wallet. So each World App user has a safe smart account, and each user also has a World ID. And you can access both World ID and your wallet through the World App. So World ID, which is the next one, is the protocol that we built for proving that you're a unique human. Maybe you've seen the orb device that we have over in the main lobby room. And so the orb allows you to prove that you're a unique human, and the way that you can use and access your World ID is through the World App, right? So the general flow would be you download World App, you go to the orb, you get verified, and now you have a verified World ID you can use to prove that you're a unique human online and on-chain. And it's secured by Ethereum, right? So like World ID lives on Ethereum, the set of smart contracts live on Ethereum, and they're also bridged to our own network, which is called World Chain. And so World Chain, we launched World Chain before we were in Optimism mainnet. And so World App, all the safes of all the users live on World Chain. And so all the transactions happen on this OP stack L2, which is part of the superchain. And you can interact so any transaction that you do on World App, essentially, it triggers a transaction on World Chain. And WorldCoin is the asset that we distribute to everyone on the basis that you're a unique human, right? So if you're a unique human verified by the orb, within World ID, you can claim your WorldCoin tokens on signup, and during every month, you have like a grant you can claim if you're in the eligible countries. Right, so you have the orb. You can check the orb out at the main lobby where we have our booth. We're happy to verify your sign up or like answer any questions you may have about it. So these are the main things that we're doing, right? So like the orb, this is a nice breakdown of the components of the new orb that we have, right? So this is what World App looks like. So if you want to get verified, you can just book a time in whatever country that the orbs are available in. You can check if orbs are available in your country, or you can sign up for notifications as well. You can select dates, book an appointment, and get verified, or do it here if you're at the conference, right? This is a screen that shows what the wallet looks like, right? So it's all of these assets are on a safe smart account, and we also integrate lots of on-ramps and off-ramps, so you can like buy tokens from exchanges or like Apple Pay, or depending on which different market you can top up from different methods. Right, this is the World ID screen. So currently we support World ID credentials for Passport and the orb, so you can create proofs that you own a unique passport, or you can create a proof that you've been verified by the orb. And South Korea is one of the countries that we already support for World ID credentials. This is the mini apps page. So essentially you have, World has been building a lot of things, and we have lots of users. But one of the things that we wanted to allow is for third parties to also build applications on top of World App. I'll talk more in detail about mini apps later. But essentially you can chat with all of your different friends. You can share them these mini apps. And not only that, but you as a developer, you can build applications on World App, and you can distribute them through our user base. So yeah, so what is World? World, to me, is real-world Ethereum, because we are actually out there and like giving access to Ethereum through all the users, right? So like we have over 25 million World App users across iOS and Android that have downloaded the World App. over 12 million of which have been verified by the orb, or around 12 million. I don't know the exact number currently, but should be around 12 million. And we have about 1 million daily transactions on WorldChain and 516 million plus WLD tokens that have been claimed by users over time. So this is what I mean by real-world Ethereum, right? We give access to 12 million people to giving a proof of personhood, right? So like they're able to prove they're human online and on-chain. And it's giving access to Ethereum to everyone, right? Like everyone can buy ETH, use ETH, they can do transactions, they can build mini apps, they can build smart contracts and Solidity, deploy them, and real people around the world can use them, right? To give some stats, for example, 1 in 3 people in Buenos Aires in Argentina have a world app. One each and every 7th person in Argentina has the world app. There's other markets as well, right? Like we're also in Europe, and Southeast Asia, and all sorts of other places as well. So I wanted to surface some of the places where you can go to and learn about like what are the current sort of statistics around world, or like where can I learn more information? Because I feel like after I talk to a lot of people, they maybe don't know the scale of the project and how many people are actually using it. So these are going to be some of the resources you can go to learn more. So if you go to Dune Analytics, dune.com/world/world, you can see a lot of different dashboards on World App, on our operations, like how many operators are operating, how many like World App safes there are on WorldChain, how many transactions, volume on DEXs, all sorts of other interesting statistics. The other one is miniapps.world. So miniapps, as I mentioned earlier, is this platform that allows third-party developers to build applications and distribute them to our 25 million plus users. And all of the users within World App, they have the mini app store, and then can go on there and download your app and use them for whatever they want to. So something that we offer is like, now you know that you have real users using your application. In crypto, one of the biggest problems is bots, right? Like you don't actually know if the users are mercenary because they're trying to farm an airdrop, or trying to just get access to some privileges by using your app early. So a lot of people just bought it. When you deploy a consumer application as a mini app, you know that the users are actually real. They're actual humans that have a proof of persona they can use to actually prove that they're unique humans while interacting with your application. So all the usage statistics that you get are not only number of users, right? So like daily active users, monthly active users, or yearly active users. You have monthly unique active users. You know that each user in that user ID is actually a verified human. So you have real users with real growth. Another one, which is a really good resource, is a lot of the people I talk to have a lot of questions around the privacy guarantees of the orb, right? Like, why is it privacy preserving? How does it work? What is the orb made out of? Why did you choose iris biometrics? How does the iris biometric algorithm work and generates iris codes? How do you use multi-party computation and zero-knowledge cryptography? Where does Ethereum fit in the picture? Why do you use Ethereum? Why are you not using just like a database? So all of these questions and more are answered in a white paper. It has the first principles thinking from the ground up of like why we had to build custom hardware, how does like proof of personhood work in a nutshell, the technical diagrams, and all the different explainers that you might ever want. Another one that is really good is if you want to keep up with all the latest news, we have our blog. So if you go to world.org/blog, you can see all of the updates on like new product releases, announcements, new market launches, like grant program updates, and more. If you're interested as a developer in looking at the source code, pretty much all of the code that we've ever built is on GitHub as open source software. The only thing that is not open source is the World app, the client itself. But everything else, like the orb hardware, the schematics of it, the orb software, the firmware of the orb, the iris code pipeline, the multi-party computation software, the ZK software. Of course, we use the OP stack for WorldChain, so that is already open source by default. But what I'm trying to say is like all of the things that we've built are open source, and we actively contribute to it. And if you ever want to check out any of the things that we do, you can check out this link for GitHub. So this is sort of like the lay of the land, like picture of what we are about. But I wanted to also talk about like what are we focusing on for this year and the upcoming years ahead. So overall, the World ID protocol and just in general, like World app is only as useful as the number of users you have. The more people that have World ID and are verified and they can prove that they're unique humans, the more incentive there is for people to integrate World ID as a solution for SIB resistance or for proving that you're unique humans, right? To prevent bots, to make sure that, well, in crypto, for example, you care about distributing your asset fairly, or having like a democratic process for governance on chain. You want to have like one person, one vote, as opposed to plutocracy, where like people vote based on how many tokens they hold, right? So one of the recurring sort of needs for us and for, I think, most applications in crypto is to drive growth. So that's always going to be our biggest focus. And one of the things that we announced recently for our latest event that we did in San Francisco in October is that we're rolling out new orbs all around the world. These orbs were made with mass production in mind. And we're working on real-world use cases. So we did one of the partnerships that we announced recently was a partnership with Razer, the gaming company. So Razer has been building this thing called Razer ID, and Razer ID allows gamers to verify that each account they own within a game is owned by a unique human, and that can prevent things like cheating and, for example, botting within different like competitive gaming platforms. Right? So all of these use cases and all of the hardware and software that we're building is to the goal of creating a growth flywheel, so that the more users are in World ID, the more people want to use World ID to actually measure that this is a unique human, or that they have a specific credential, or that they have access to mini apps, right? Like everything is self-fulfilling prophecy in that end. We've been also working on a lot of new technology. So some of the things that I showed earlier is like World ID credentials. That is something that is fairly new. And the thing that we're working on for World ID credentials at first is to prove that you own a unique passport. Currently, you only allow proof of unique passport, but eventually we also want to do things like selective disclosure, where you can prove specific things about yourself that are encoded in that passport information, right? So I can prove that I'm over 18, I can prove that I'm from a specific nationality or subset of nationalities, and eventually you want to expand that to all sorts of other things, like I own a unique TikTok account, or I own a unique account without revealing anything about myself with full privacy. We've also been working on the privacy on the biometric side with MPC, new orbs, as I mentioned, scaling L2s. So we had time earlier talk about that, right? We want the layer 2 to be able to handle billions of transactions, to be able to onboard 1 billion humans onto World. And so there's been a lot of different features that we've been working on. One of them was priority block space for humans, or PBH, which means that humans that are interacting on World Chain get priority over bots. If you're a unique human that is verified on World app and with World ID, you get preferential inclusion in each block that happens on World Chain. And this is something that we already have on testnet, and we're rolling out into production over the coming months. And so overall, the best thing we can do is provide a great platform for people to build applications where they know that the users they're interacting with are actually real, and they have access to self-sovereign identity and self-sovereign finance, right? So we're also looking at more integrations with different partners that are providing infrastructure for World Chain, for World App, for World ID, different products and teams to launch different mini apps on World Chain and launch their services as well, right? So we've been working with a lot of different partners to make the experience on World Chain and World App a lot better. Better experience for mini app developers, better experience for users on World App, increase the liquidity in decentralized finance on World Chain, right? So you have better pricing, and just a lot of those sorts of work streams as well. Another thing that we've been working on a lot is state-of-the-art cryptography. So if you want to actually distribute World App, World ID to the world, you have to face real-world constraints, right? People around the world don't necessarily have the latest iPhone like we're used to in the developed world, right? Like in like the US and other places like Europe. The problem with cryptography, and most specifically ZK, zero knowledge cryptography, is that it's really expensive to do. So a lot of the ZK community within the crypto space is focused on mostly creating proofs in really beefy servers for proving things like ZK rollups, right? Like if I want to prove the state transition of an L2, I need to have a beefy server. But this alienates the actual user, which has maybe like a consumer laptop or a consumer phone. And so if you look at the user base that we have around the world, if you look at the tail end of the hardware that those people have, is usually like an old Android phone from 2014, 2015. It has maybe like 1 GB of RAM that you can use. It has like very little bandwidth, memory, storage, like all the hardware constraints that you have are very limited. So we've been working a lot of like state-of-the-art cryptography to make this available to everyone. And so World ID actually becomes useful for enabling all of the use cases that we care about, like proof of personhood, proof of your identity through World ID credentials, and other things. So if you want to check out the things that we've been building, you can check out that GitHub link. And what we're building is essentially a new cryptography backend for Noir, the domain-specific language. Aztec is also present at this event, so Aztec built this language that allows you to write ZK circuits. And this, what allows you to do is to create really fast and performant proofs, but in mobile devices, to make sure that users are able to hold their own data and custody their own credentials without having to trust third parties to hold their data. So I'm able to create proofs about myself with full privacy preserving guarantees, all from my phone by leveraging tools like the ones we're building, right? So this gives everyone privacy in the palm of their hands. And this is sort of like the recurrent theme that we're working on towards, because we want to make sure that everyone has access to full self-sovereign identity, and that they have access to that without having to compromise their data like we have had to do so for the last 2 decades in modern software. So for those who are technical and want to learn a little bit more about what the current proving stack that we have is, so as I mentioned, we have Noir as the domain-specific language that we chose. It's mostly because it's really ergonomic for developers and a lot better than everything we had before, and its performance. So what we do is, I'm just going to mention it briefly. So we have Noir, which compiles to the Noir intermediate representation. From that, we implemented a proving system called Spartan, which was developed in 2019-2020, and a polynomial commitment scheme that came up recently, which is called WIR. And this is what's running in the client of the phone. This is something that makes it really fast, and the proofs are really small, and allows you to not have to download big files onto your device or have really slow provers like we've had so far. And then everything else is happening in a server. So once you have zero-knowledge cryptography on the client, you're able to verify that on the server. You're able to create a Gross16 proof, and that gets verified on-chain. So yeah. This client-side proving stack is what's going to underpin a lot of our identity efforts. If you actually have full credentials that are hosted by the user and they have some sort of source of truth, so in the case of passports, governments sign those passports. In the case of World ID, the orb guarantees that you're a unique human. And there's all sorts of other credentials with different trust assumptions based on who signs the credentials that are issued. So once you have all those credentials, you're going to be able to import them into World ID, and you're going to be able to create different proofs about yourself. So the ones that we support currently is personhood and government IDs or passports currently. And so eventually you're going to be able to create proofs like data that you have on your websites, right? So let's say that I have an Uber Eats account or something, or a TikTok account or an X account. I'm going to be able to prove that I have more than a set amount of followers, or that I've posted X amount of times. Things like that. You're going to be able to create proofs about any part of your identity, and you're going to be able to custody all of your data and make all of that sort of fully privacy preserving. So as I mentioned, a World ID, you can prove anything about pretty much everything. But currently, of course, there's limitations. So as long as we build towards a better future, we're allowing people to actually self-own their identity and create proofs about it. So mini apps, as I mentioned them earlier, they're this great developer platform that allows third parties to build applications on World App and distribute them to our millions of users. So the mini apps, if you're a developer, if you're interested in building a mini app yourself, we have this library or SDK, which is called MiniKit. And so MiniKit allows any developer to use World App to their advantage, right? So World App itself already supports a lot of features. And you as a developer, you might not want to build them yourself, right? So you're able to trigger things like chatting with other users that are using your mini app through World Chat. You can also use things like World ID to prove that the user interacting with your application is an actually unique user verified by World ID. You can trigger arbitrary transactions on World Chain. So if your application is not only an off-chain application, but an on-chain application, you can deploy smart contracts on World Chain and make them available to your users through mini apps. You can trigger payments through Apple Pay and Google Pay. You can also leverage existing infrastructure from World App, right? So your user was going to have a World App wallet, right? So they can use any on-ramp or any off-ramp for the countries we support to actually on-ramp into the World App ecosystem, and then they can use those funds to interact with your application, right? So if I'm in Argentina and I have pesos, I can convert them to USDC, and then I can use that seamlessly within the mini app. So you as a developer, you don't have to worry about on-ramps, off-ramps, payment providers, all those sorts of things are provided as a simple SDK for you. And it's becoming ever easier and easier to build one yourself with really good user experience. You can also trigger things like push notifications. But the main sell here is that you have access to our distribution pipeline, right? We have all of our users across the world, and we're growing ever faster. And so you're able to access all of those through building a mini app. Cool. Another thing I wanted to mention is that we have an event happening on April 30th. So if you're in San Francisco and you get accepted for the event, you can attend in person, but also it's going to be live streamed on YouTube. So if you go to live.world.org, you can set up a reminder and you can eventually watch the live stream. Or if you get accepted in person, we're happy to have you in San Francisco on April 30th, where the co-founders of Tools for Humanity, Sam Altman and Alex Blany, are going to be giving a talk, as well with other team members from Tools for Humanity and the World Foundation. And we're going to be sharing all what's happening around WorldCoin, World ID, World App, and there's also going to be a celebration after party after that. So thank you everyone for listening, and if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. We are here for the length of the ETH Seoul event, and also around BUIDL Asia if you're still around for that. Thank you everyone.